Well, it's a kind of a sad day for our country. It's 9/11, and before I came over, you can take that off, Doug.
You've made your point.
I do like the encouragement to vote, and I suppose you're encouraging us only to vote once.
Vote early, vote often, just like in Chicago.
No. I think that's the bad message we're being told right now, is to vote more than once. I think we should vote once, whether it's a mail-in or we show up at the polls.
I think that would be a good idea, Michael.
Yeah. In fact, I actually helped them process some of the absentee ballots.
Oh.
And it's so
Did you
safe
see
and
ours?
secure. What's that?
Did you
see ours?
Yeah.
Oh, did you do one? I think I had E to G, so I didn't get to the Hill Breed.
Quite to the ages.
But it is 9/11. I saw a very moving
She's a
tribute
bee, so
on
you get
the
that
news this morning, and it's important to remember this day, and not only the people who lost their lives that day, but the countless men and women who lost their lives in Iraq and Afghanistan and other places.
Right. It seems hard to believe it was 19 years ago.
I know, I can't believe that.
It really, because I remember so distinctly,
Yeah,
as we all do. It's like when JFK was assassinated, which may be before your time, I don't know.
I was 4.
You probably don't remember where you were at
But
day,
you
but
saw it
it's-
on TV though.
But it's
Saw
one
it
of
on
those
TV.
events in your life that you'll never ever forget where you were when you heard the news.
Yeah.
or when
Saw
you
it on TV
or
in the basement of the fraternity house in Hanover.
Yeah.
Huh. So Doug, where did you grow up?
Well,
I know that's kind of a
it's
I
a
hope
loaded
that,
question.
It implies you've
it's
grown
leading-
up.
It's a
but-
leading question, but accepting the underlying premise,
Just answer the
I
question.
went to high school in upstate New York, and then in 1962 I came to New Hampshire to go to school, and I've been in New Hampshire resident ever since 1962. I had a couple of breaks for 3 years in the Peace Corps.
And where did you
And
serve in
then
the Peace Corps?
6 months in active duty in the Army, and then law school. So
And where were you in the Peace Corps?
I was in the Western Pacific. I'm a land surveyor by background and training, and I was a Peace Corps surveyor in the Western Pacific Islands in the Carolina and Mariana Islands.
So when you moved to New Hampshire in '62 to go to school, what school did you attend?
Went to Dartmouth.
Dartmouth, okay. And Alexandra, how about you? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Poughkeepsie, New York, which is in the mid-Hudson Valley area, and went away to boarding school outside of Washington, D.C. in Virginia. Madeira.
What sport?
Oh, excuse me?
What sport were you interested in?
You know what? Well, gosh, that was back in the days when women's sports were a big deal. So I played field hockey, I played tennis. That's what was available in Virginia. Not skiing, of course. And then I actually came back to go to college, Vassar College, which is located in Poughkeepsie, but was a resident at the college, and did an exchange program at Williams College for 6 months. That was my junior year abroad, actually 6 months abroad, and had a wonderful experience at Williams. So I am actually considered an alumna of both institutions, even though I didn't matriculate at Williams. I just was there for a semester.
And the annoying noise is the landscapers from Belknap. They're here often. I think your yard is
Yeah, they're here all the time.
Right.
Should I go and shut them down?
I think they're okay, but I think Hayden can retire on the Hill Breed
Wow.
Account. I believe so.
So where did
It's a busy account.
yes?
assure you.
Where did the two of you meet?
We met in law school in Boston.
What law school?
Boston University Law School.
Okay. What year was that?
Well, depends on which encounter you're referring to. Let's just say it was 1970.
71 was the first encounter. Didn't go so well, actually.
And why is that?
Oh, I just thought Doug was one of these pompous law school students.
Have you changed your mind?
I did.
No, no, but she just found some other qualities.
Backdrop is that I hated law school. I hated every bit of it. So I went to law school for a year, 70 to 71, after I graduated from Vassar. I took a year off, went to New York City, worked in the New York City Parks Department, the planning department for a year, which was sort of a politically related job through the John Lindsay administration. And then I came back to law school in the fall of 71. And Doug and I re-met, or 72 I guess, and we re-met in 72. and that was, love took off, and there we were, and
Huh.
all the rest of it is history.
So when did you actually get married then?
In 1976.
And where did you get married?
Do you remember the date, Doug?
No, I keep forgetting.
That's interesting because I talk about this in my sermon on Sunday, actually.
This is
Exhibit 1 right here.
Obviously, this is a family joke, but I'm not real good at remembering some of the things like that. We got married in Poughkeepsie, New York, at Alexandra's family's church, which is a Dutch Reformed church.
Dutch Reformed.
And
On Hooker Avenue.
sort of
in
tight.
Poughkeepsie.
Hooker Avenue, sort of a tight group,
And
Them
when
Dutch.
did you move to Gilford?
Well, we moved to Gilford in '78.
Okay, now were your mom and dad already here?
No, they didn't come until later. Nor did my brother and sister also came.
And I
Came
never
later.
met your dad, Toby.
Right,
I heard lots of wonderful things about him. What year did he die?
2001.
2000, so a year before I came. But
Yeah.
your mom, Alice,
She died in '13.
I loved her. She was a great
well, Alice was certainly a community institution and very enthusiastic about the church.
Yeah, they both.
And the church was very enthusiastic back about her, too.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of nice support.
What birthday party did we have of hers? Was it 90 or 95?
I think we had both. I mean,
Okay.
there was a 90 and there was a 95.
I don't recall. It was an event you obviously were at.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. We're in the process of going through all of our photographs right now, which is like reliving our entire life. And I'm discovering things. Oh, I didn't remember that we did that in 1991.
So what brought you in 78 to Gilford?
I came after law school. I went and I did a judicial clerkship at the state Supreme Court for a year, sort of a traditional thing to do in your first year out of law school. And then I went to work for the legal aid agency. And then after that, after several years at the legal aid agency, I came up here and joined my law school roommate, Bill Nungesser, and we had a law practice in Meredith
Yep.
for 35 years.
Okay. And when you moved to Gilford, did you move right here?
Yep.
To Guilford, yes.
To Guilford.
But that was a year that we
We lived various places in New Hampshire,
in-
short term. But
Yeah, it was
before that.
1977 that I moved from my Manchester law firm to what we refer to as the Niswander law firm in Laconia, where I practiced until 1998, real estate law. So that year, 77 to 78, was a year of many moves. In fact, we lived in Sandwich with Bill for
Or
I don't know,
whenever.
a couple of months, I guess.
Yeah.
And we searched and searched, and it was sort of, we started looking for houses we thought we wanted, because we had a wooden sailboat that needs a lot of care and attention, because Doug worked on it himself, so we needed a barn or someplace, a large space to put the wooden sailboat in for the winter. And so we thought we wanted the farmhouse, the 18 whatever, farmhouse with big barn and fields and all the rest of it. And that's what we started looking for. But as we looked for houses, we kept coming back to lakefront and lake access. And so we ended up with this house.
Oh, and this is a gorgeous spot.
Yeah, and this
Which
house.
we're just, we feel so incredibly fortunate. We've been here for 42 years.
Wow.
This was a four-room house with a little bitty dirt basement and a water system that was sort of worked.
When you bought it, it was?
When we bought it, yeah, it was fairly, it was fairly basic. Built right around the turn of the 20th century, with all the wonderful detail, low Victorian detail, and we have been working on it ever since.
Huh.
Right.
Kind of like a cathedral. It never
Really?
ends, huh?
Right.
Yeah,
Never finished.
I'm not so sure as I'd be
The project's just, it's amazing.
calling it a cathedral, but it's definitely us, because there are a lot of features here that are us, but we've maintained the Victorian detail and the Victorian effect of it.
And how did your brother Steve end up in Gilford?
He came here and visited us and liked it.
Right, they were
Basically,
in Rochester, New York, and they decided, he got married to Adele in 86, I think it was, and they had kind of reached the end of their various employment situations, and I think Steve thought that New Hampshire really afforded, a wonderful opportunity. Really, they came up here and saw us. So I think they decided to move here, and then your parents moved
here
afterwards.
and
It's hard to remember.
so all of us were here, and I have just one brother and no cousins or aunts or uncles. So it was the whole crowd.
So how did you guys make your way over to the Gilford Community Church?
We were thinking about that, and I have no idea how the first time we knew Ray Wixon.
Okay.
And
how did you know him?
From the yacht club.
Okay.
1978.
Winnipesaukee Yacht Club.
Been a member of the Winnipesaukee Yacht Club since '78, and so that was a contact. I think certainly Ray was an extraordinary guy. In his time, he was a real leader, a real community leader, and
I think your parents. Well, I
And
think
then when my
we've gone
parents
a
came
few
here-
times, but I think your parents are the ones who
Probably, when they
really,
visited.
because they started going there, so it seemed like it was and obviously it was a convenient place to go. We liked the fact it was so Catholic, universal, with a small C,
Yep.
universal, and sort of non-judgmental. I mean, it's just a very open environment, which I think is really important. And it was convenient,
yeah.
So, and our children,
Sure.
our son, who's the oldest child, actually.
So that's
did go-
Porter.
And he is a member of the
Did
church.
go
so
to he did go to Sunday school, and he did become a member of the church. I have confirmation, the confirmation pictures the other day.
Yeah.
Ramsay never. The problem was is that our kids both were ski racers,
Yep.
and so Sunday mornings we were on the mountain or traveling with them for ski racing.
So
and stuff.
Porter is married, and where is he?
Porter lives in Coscob, Connecticut, which is a portion of Greenwich.
And I think he's a teacher.
Yep.
He actually is an administrator.
Okay.
He moved from teaching third grade, where he'd been at the Greenwich Country Day School for 12, 13 years, to another private all-boys school, elementary school called Fairfield Country Day School in Fairfield, Connecticut, just a little north. As the head of what they call the lower school, which is K through 3, third grade, which is what he has been hoping to do for a few years. It was hard to kind of get into the administrative job because he hadn't had experience, and so you could apply for jobs, but you have to have experience in order to get it, et cetera. But he did his master's in education at Stanford, and that's in leadership, organizational leadership was his area of concentration at education degree. So this is something he's been wanting to do for a long time, and I think he's really enjoying it.
And Ramsey, where is she?
She is in Park City, Utah.
Okay.
She's married to David Trudonsky, who was on the U.S. ski team. He's retired like 2 years ago, I guess. He was our number one slalom skier on the U.S. ski team. So they trained out of Park City, and that's why she met David in Aspen, where she had been a ski coach for 6 years.
Oh.
But then she decided to get into education. She got her degree at Harvard, which was really nice, and then they moved out there. Well, she moved out there after she finished her year in Cambridge. And so she's a third grade teacher also. As is Holly, Porter's wife, is also a third grade teacher in another private day school in Greenwich. So they are very much involved in the elementary school education process right now, and all the problems and issues that these schools and teachers are facing.
And then I know you guys work out. You're in excellent shape, and you work out a lot at the Gilford Hills.
Gilford Hills, but not for the last few months.
We have not been there for the last
Life
few
is,
months.
for many years we joined that crowd that included Kathy and Nancy.
Kathy LaCroix, Nancy Carson.
LaCroix,
Yeah.
Nancy Carson.
Of course.
The 6 a.m. crowd, it was known as, it's still known as, but there isn't a lot of 6 a.m. crowd classes.
So they're not open yet?
Oh yes, they're open.
Okay.
They're open in
Yeah.
various
And
ways.
But at your age, you need to be extra careful. I understand.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Our age group.
Right.
Yeah. But they have when they're the other day in the room where, for instance, the bar and the aerobics and stretching
Sure.
and yoga and whatever classes, they have little footprints on the floor that are at least 10 feet apart. So everybody has to be on a footprint. You have to reserve in advance, so you can't just sort of show up.
Kind of like church.
Right. Well, like now with church, yeah.
Now you have
Which
to have
is
your
such a
little
great
number.
idea. I mean, that's such a terrific
Yeah, that's
idea.
excellent.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed the service on Sunday. I could have sat down there in the sun for a lot longer.
Uh-huh.
It was lovely. It was really lovely. So
This Sunday will be
Yeah.
a little cooler. Oh, remind me, I didn't sign up. I need to sign up.
We had 3 general complaints. It was too sunny.
Which
too-
wasn't
it
It was,
sunny enough.
we were stuck in the shade,
Yeah.
and the grass was wet.
Right.
Oh, and the air conditioner came on.
oh,
Life is
was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a switch in the air conditioner somewhere.
Yeah, there's a little fence. It's kind of. I'm going to try to hop it, but I might get a kid and lift him over it.
So, in place of going to Gilford Hills, though, we have been hiking a tremendous amount. Since March, since we got back from South America, we've been hiking
Practically
any
every day.
nice day in the springtime, because we had kind of a crummy spring, so some of the days weren't great. But and we have just discovered all these terrific trails in the Belknap Range that we didn't really know about before, had never hiked on, et cetera. So
That's great.
That has been, and we've gone to all the Lakes Region Conservation Trust properties and hiked all those trails, and it's just been, it's a wonderful discovery process. And then there's lots of trails that we do many, many times.
I think a lot of people over the last 6 months have been much more physically
Oh,
engaged,
absolutely.
which is a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
I hope it continues.
Well, judging from the trailheads in some of these places,
Oh my
like Mount
gosh.
Major is crazy and ridiculous.
Yeah,
But
don't
they
go to
even-
Mount Major, folks.
Yeah.
Don't go to Mount Major.
Yeah.
If there are that many cars there, what do you think the trail's going to look like?
Yeah.
It's awful.
And we're trying to encourage people to go to the lesser used areas, which is pretty easy to do in the Belknap Range. If you don't go to that parking lot for Mount Major, in fact, there are other ways to get up Mount Major without having to go to
Yeah,
that
the
parking
problem
lot.
is that a lot of those people aren't from around here,
They're
so
not
they just know
familiar.
about Mount Major and they haven't looked at anything else, and they get there and there's this huge parking.
So the
thing.
Yeah.
plug here is to go to the Belknap Range Conservation Coalition, an organization I was involved in founding, and you'll find excellent maps.
So do they have a website?
That's the website, and there are maps, and there are links to other maps that the Lakes Region Conservation Trust has, and of course there's a lot of town land up there too.
I love hiking. I love going up. I don't really like coming down.
Yeah.
So if I could arrange a ride down, kind of like Mount Washington, you can take the train
Right,
or
right.
the shuttle
Which
bus.
we
down.
have done because
Which
we
we've
have
done, yeah.
a fundraiser for the Mount Washington Observatory, on whose board I've served for too many years, called Seek the Peak. And the idea is for people to, it had been the idea was to hike Mount Washington. But again, this year, because the Sherman Adams building was not open, which is at
The big
summit,
building at the
Yeah.
top of
at
Mount
the
Washington,
top of Mount
top of
Washington.
the
It
road.
didn't open until, I think, probably the end of July, finally, maybe first part of
Yeah.
August. It opened. Anyway, Seek the Peak was virtual, as with all of these enterprises this year. So, but Doug and I would always hike up and then get a ride down.
So I have
It's
run
really
up.
hard.
I have run up the Otter Road 6 times. I've only hiked it once.
Oh, wow.
I hiked it when I was in Methuen with 2 guys who had just graduated from law school.
So,
And they were totally out of shape.
yeah.
We were passed by a lady who had to be at least 8 months pregnant. She would pass us, and then she would take a little break, and then we would pass her, and then as soon as she started again, she would pass us. So it was embarrassing.
That is a riot.
Yeah.
What you
Yeah.
need to do, Michael, is get somebody to climb up. You can climb up Belknap, and then have somebody drive up to the upper parking lot and pick you up.
Huh.
And you don't
That
have
would
to
work.
go down. And
Yes.
you don't have to go down.
You know, there's a group of, I think they're mainly guys. They park at the elementary school almost every morning about 6 o'clock, and they bike up those trails behind the
Right.
elementary school.
Yeah, that's town.
really?
Can
That's
you
the town
imagine that?
forest.
Yeah.
That's the town forest.
Yeah, we hike that trail quite often, and there's obviously bike marks,
Yes.
tire marks on the. Wow.
And,
No,
there's, and there's flesh marks on the trees.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the rocks.
You're right, they've run into. Oh my gosh, I give a lot of credit to those bikers. Yikes.
So
Maybe they have e-bikes though. Maybe they're using e-bikes these days.
I don't think so. I think they're pretty serious.
No, I think you're right.
Just one last question. I got another interview at 10 o'clock, but are you reading anything good right now?
I'm reading a book called Know My Name, which is written by the young woman who was the victim of a rape, attempted rape in Palo Alto by a Stanford student. Got a lot of national attention. And it's really beautifully written. Uh, so anybody's interested in that issue, it talks a lot. She talks a lot about it. It's about her personal feelings going through the process, because of course she went through the whole criminal justice system process and not really understanding what was happening and when it was happening and who it was happening to and whatever. Anyway, it's beautifully written. It's very nice.
How about you, Mr. Hill?
I work in conservation, so I tend to read stuff that's natural history related, and I'm reading Peter Wollenben, who's a German forester's book, The Hidden Lives of Trees,
Oh, that's a great book.
which is spectacular.
We've only been reading it now for 6 months.
I've been reading bits and
At
pieces.
least.
It's slow going because I fall
It's
asleep.
a little teeny book like
I fall
this.
asleep. I fall asleep. But Alexandra also got me the illustrated one with the photos, which is spectacular.
So do you actually read books, or do you read on your Kindle? How do you...
No, I read books.
I
I
read
really
paper
like,
books.
yeah. And
Yeah,
I'm
I've had enough screen time by the time I get in.
And
crawl
I'm
in bed.
addicted to Louise Penny, who's a mystery writer. Her Armand Gamache is her, main dude. And so I've read a lot of her books, maybe not all of them, but I just can't put them down.
That's
It's
great.
like eating, it's.
Well, it's so wonderful if you let me come over here today.
Well, thank you.
And
Enjoyed it.
I hope to see you Sunday then.
Oh yeah, we have to make a reservation.
I
Yeah.
It's supposed to rain on Sunday or something.
I think it's supposed to rain later in the day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I think Sunday morning's okay.
Yeah, it should be okay.
I just heard the NOAA VHF forecast.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
thank you.
We-
Thank you for coming.
Have a wonderful day.
Okay, good.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Michael.
Perfect.
Taking your day off to do this.